Welcome to the meeting of the Hingham Municipal Light Plant Board on Wednesday, April 8th, 2026. And today we have one item on our agenda, which is to have an open house to talk about the transmission project that we are bringing forward to town meeting. So thanks for coming to hear about the reliability project. I hope everyone received the brochure describing the project in the mail, and we're here to present the project in some detail and explain exactly what we're asking of town meeting, to answer questions, and to ask for your support at town meeting. To set the background, if you're new to Hingham Light, we're public power, as opposed to a power company owned by private investors like Eversource or National Grid. The town is the sole owner of the light plant. Without private shareholders to consult, HMLP can direct all its revenues into maintaining the system and keeping rates low. HMLP is overseen by a three-member elected policy board consisting of Michael Reeve, Tyler Harold, and myself, and the board hires a general manager to oversee all the operations. The project has three components, and I'm going to present those now. A brand new underground transmission line, which will connect to the grid in Weymouth. A new second substation near the current one at the transfer station, where the transmission line will be connected to our in-town grid, and a new tap station at the other end in Weymouth to make the connection to the larger grid, which will be owned and operated by Eversource. So why do we need this new transmission line? At the moment, all the power that we use comes into town on two transmission lines on one set of poles. You can see those in the picture on your right. That means that all the power in town is vulnerable. If even one of these poles comes down, the entire town will be dark. As you can see in the picture, this line travels along the MBTA right-of-way, which makes getting to access to the line delayed and complicated when it's time to do some service on the line. And it also could be seen as a vulnerability in its own right. This is an out-of-date system which fails to meet multiple national standards. It could not be built today in its current configuration. So I've mentioned the three pieces of the project over on the right and over on the left, and on the right, this is a map of the proposed underground route through Weymouth into Hingham and to the substation. The red route is our recommended route, which runs down Broad Street, and the blue route, which runs along Lake Street, is an alternate, which could be used if the preferred route is not chosen by the state's Energy Facility Siting Board. And in a minute, we'll be talking a little bit more about the permitting process. The aspect of this project which contributes most to future reliability is that it is underground. This line will not be subject to weather, accidents, or any other above-ground challenges, and it will be able to carry the load of the entire town should the above-ground transmission lines go offline for any reason. This project was conceived over 7 years ago to address the reliability concerns we've mentioned, but it has the added benefit that it will equip HMLP to meet rising demand, which may result from customers switching over time to electricity from gas or oil. The new substation in particular provides future proofing, and you're seeing a rendering of what it will look like here. At the new substation, there's room for a new transformer, which is not currently needed, but which could be installed to service an increasing demand in the future. This would support the town's and the Commonwealth's goal for cutting carbon emissions. So the expected cost is between $100 and $110 million, which will be covered by two funding mechanisms, and we'll dive into that a little bit more deeply in a minute. The most crucial thing to know about the funding is that this project will have no impact on your property taxes. Like projects for our water system, the costs of construction and debt service will be funded entirely through utility rates. Because the project has a source of funding that's separate from property taxes, it doesn't compete for funds with any other projects which are funded from property taxes, and it's not considered by rating agencies to be using up any of our town's capacity to fund debt. All the projected costs will be covered by rate increases, which have already been approved. While these increases have not yet been fully reflected on bills, we don't expect there will be any further rate increases required to fund this project beyond those already authorized. So looking in more detail at the financing, we have to note first that like all construction projects which haven't begun, these are estimates. The project is being funded in two separate pieces. On the right, at town meeting, we will request authorization to borrow up to $70 million to pay for the underground line and the new substation, and will pay that off over a period of 20 years. We believe this amount is adequate to cover contingencies. HMLP will not borrow any more than is needed, up to $70 million. And in addition to rates, the cost of the borrowing will be partially paid for with depreciation funds. On the left is the tap station in Weymouth, and it will be paid for over 40 years through electric rates and reserve funds. This part of the financing does not require borrowing, so it doesn't require town meeting approval. And here you see the timeline of previously approved rate increases, which, when fully reflected in utility bills, will cover the cost of the project. Those previously approved rate increases will cover both the bonding costs and the costs of the remainder of the project, which will not be bonded. And again, we don't expect to have to authorize any further rate increases in order to complete this project. So this timeline shows how the project has gone forward. There have been many outreach events over the years. In 2022, town meeting approved the location of the new substation. Following that, the work was completed to choose the tap station location in Weymouth and then the route for the transmission line, which you saw on a previous slide. So because of its size, this project is permitted under the State Energy Facilities Siting Board, or EFSB, as you see on the slide. The Hingham Planning Board and the Zoning Board of Appeals have no official role, but the project team met with those boards to get their opinions and effectively to ask what conditions they would put on this project if they were the permitting authorities. The boards issued a list of conditions which the project will meet, and those conditions are included in the project submitted to the EFSB for approval. The request for bonding, which will go to town meeting, was recommended for approval by both the select board and the advisory committee. We hope to receive town meeting approval for the borrowing. The EFSB conducted a lengthy and in-depth hearing process and solicited input both in person and online, including at 2 public hearings where there were opportunities for questions and answers. We expect to receive a permit from the EFSB in August. After that, both the Hingham and the Weymouth Conservation Commissions will both have their standard oversight, and we will also apply for a permit from Mass DEP, since the substation will be on the site, which includes the closed landfill. The Light Board asks for your support and for a positive vote at town meeting on April 27th. So here's, if you think of questions you'd like to ask later after the meeting, we're going to get questions in a moment, but if you have more questions, you can call these numbers. You can email PJ O'Sullivan at rasky.com. He's on the call tonight, but if you don't get to it, you can email him. And also at the bottom, you see the website that is devoted exclusively to this project with the unfortunate name www.HEIRP.com. That's for Hingham Electrical Infrastructure Reliability Project. And also, of course, there's a QR code if you would like to go that way to get answers to more questions. Thank you very much, everyone.